How old were you? How old were you?
Right?
12. I was on small before. You did your first gig at 12?
That's a better
First
shot.
gig at 12?
I did, yeah.
Wow. You're next, go.
Well, I've told
This is 3.
I know, I feel like I've told this story in front of you so many times.
No, you're good.
I haven't heard it.
I'll try to keep it
No, it's good. It's
short.
not. It's not.
No,
it's
basically,
a good story.
yeah, I started acting kind of in high school. I got convinced to do my first play. I loved it.
Ohio or Virginia?
In Virginia, I was living in Richmond, Virginia at the time. Did a play, loved it, decided I wanted to do it. My parents were like, "You're crazy." My dad especially was like, "You're insane." He's a businessman, and he was like, "Be realistic. You're not going to make a living off that." And I was like, "Well, that's what I like to do. I'm really that
What they
bad."
said about Elvis.
So then I went to a Center for the Arts high school for theater, and then I went to 2 colleges and majored in theater, moved to LA, went to a conservatory for musical theater, realized it was a lot of dancing and singing, so I switched out of that.
You can
Which
do
I
it.
still love. I still
You
love
can do
singing.
it.
But it was a lot. So I switched over to the acting program, graduated, started auditioned in LA for about 5 years, worked every freaking job imaginable, from walking dogs to being assistants to standing outside of Abercrombie shirtless. Yes, I was one of those douchebags.
You were one of those guys? How did you stand that smell, man?
God, it was awful. It was awful.
Holy shit, I hate that.
It's a horrible store. I do not recommend anyone buy it. The owner is an asshole. Did everything. Finally, worked for free. Tons of independent films and short films and commercials and stuff. Finally, Mark Teschner gave me a shot.
When did you sign with? I will say, my manager's really difficult. He has a very small roster, so I don't know why the fuck you took me.
Right? Thank God I got in with him right out of school, and I was young enough, I guess. I was like 21, and he saw that I didn't have any credits, but he saw that I was doing everything in my power to work, whether it was short films or whatever, and he gave me a shot, and I've been with him for 5 years, and I was not making him a dime.
We have a comment here that probably wasn't meant to be heard. She said you don't look much older than 21 right now.
Well, I appreciate that, because I just turned 29 on Saturday.
You're a puppy.
How about you, Willie?
Well, okay, so you went in, read for Mark.
I read for Mark.
Because I interrupted that process, so.
Oh, I read for Mark, and man, that was a process too, because I originally went in for Morgan Corinthos a few years back, which I just wasn't right for, and I don't think I was ready for either. And then 2 years later, my manager, Paul, and manager as well, got me. He was really wanted me to get back in for Mark Teschner, which I can see why now.
Yeah, but Mark, you never would have brought him back in had he not seen something the first time.
True,
I'll tell you
yeah.
that right now.
So he brought me back in, and I believe it was for this role that I'm playing. He brought me back in, but it was like 2.5 years ago. I came in, Mark was like, "I really like you for this, you're getting a call back," which is really cool, because a lot of casting directors, nobody does that. They don't tell you in the room if you're getting called back. But then it's also bad because you get your hopes up and you're like, "Oh shit, I got this," A few months go by, don't hear anything, and I'm like, "What's going on?" They don't call me back in. 8 months, 9 months go by. So I finally, I'm like, all right, well, maybe the role got canceled or whatever. I'm gonna go take Mark Teschner's class. He does like an acting class in LA.
Wow,
So I was like, let me just go get in there and see him again. Just remind him who I am and try to make that connection strong. So I went back in, he remembered me, which was cool. Solidified that friendship, and then 3 months later he called me back into this role, and then finally I booked it. But it was a process.
Can I just say, I auditioned for Mark Teschner when I was 18, and for a GH role,
I'm not sure that.
for the part that Rebecca's husband got. Juan Parker? Yeah, so I auditioned for that part. He remembered me. I saw my tape in for this show 7 years ago.
So are
He
we
remembered
covered?
me. It was like, I liked you then, I like you again, I want you to come back down here.
He's one of the rare casting directors that keeps pictures, hard to file pictures, and makes notes on the back. Not everybody does that anymore, but that goes to show you why he's one of
You know what's on the back of yours?
I'll
try to get
I never wrote. I only wrote, you read your stuff, I don't remember.
No, that's true though. For him, these casting directors in LA, they meet thousands of actors, and so for him to remember you that says a lot. And it's cool because when you audition with him, when he reads with you, he reads the lines with you, and he knows all of the lines. So he doesn't even look at the paper; he just reads with you, and he gives you stuff. He acts with you a little bit, which is nice. Because some casting directors will just be like, "Okay," and you're like, "What? I can't even play."
Actually, you guys wouldn't believe what actors go through in auditioning sometimes. like, we stress out over like doing tapes. Sometimes you can't be in a room. You get a call, like I got a call from Andrew last week to put something on tape, so I'll get my wife and put the kids in front of the TV for 10 minutes and we'll make tape. And you watch it, it's like, it's not great. The lighting's not perfect, the sound's not great. I can hear you better than you can hear me, but she's closer to the camera. And you think, oh, well, it doesn't look that great, but fuck it, we'll send it anyway. And then you go to some of these casting offices and I swear, man, I went to one last week, and the room sounded like it was an echo. All the walls was echoes. So it's amazing what you expect. What some people think is okay to show as a representation of you and your talents, be it a reader that you're reading with, the room that you're in, all these things. It's very difficult to cast yourself in a nice,
good cast
glowy light,
directors.
you know?
Good cast directors are really hard to come by, and you really appreciate them as an actor because they'll be checking their messages on their phone in the middle of a casting scene. Like Dom said, the lighting will be awful. You'll be half shade and half in the dark, and no mic anywhere near you. And they're being paid for this. And when we tape ourselves and go into a studio, Joe's taping facility, I mean, it's professional. It's a really, really well lit. It's good sound. You look good. You look professional. And but yeah, it's amazing what some of these guys get away with. But I will say this: the reason he probably took my manager took you was because the actors these days, they want to be celebrities. They don't really want to put the work into it to be actors, and very few people have that determination and work ethic anymore. And Robert, for whatever reason, obviously was raised the right way and had a good work ethic.
Oh, see, he's not a bad guy at all. Now, Will,
Let's hear your story, man. You gotta put yourself at the end here.
I'm one of those guys that did not think of acting whatsoever. I know some of you probably heard this, but I did not think of acting at all. I kind of grew up playing sports, and of course, everybody took drama in high school, but I never for one second thought, hockey! Yeah, well, hockey, baseball, volleyball. I never for one second thought, no, this would be a good thing. I mean, why would I even do that? I live in Montreal. And eventually went to college, played volleyball in college, took business classes, moved to Florida, continued to go to business college, took business courses. And then a buddy of mine just said, hey, there's this actor, teacher who's coming in Orlando, do you want to take some acting classes? And I was like, sure. It was a 10-week process, and at the end of the 10 weeks, we did shows with some agents and casting directors, and I got an agent to book my first audition, and worked on an NBC show called Sequest DSP. For 2 weeks, I worked on the show, and Peter Tina-Louise at the time was like, man, you need to go to Toronto. He goes, well, I mean, you need to go to Vancouver. There's a lot of shows out there. He goes, I'll set you up with my agent. He knew I was Canadian originally, so he says, well, before I call my agent, he goes, say S-O-R-R-Y. And I was like, sorry. Say A-V-O-U-T. I was like, all right, you're good. So, and I swear to God, yeah, the first time I went into a casting room, I always love this. This happens a lot. Like, some poor actor will be walking out of the casting room, and the casting director will walk out after him. Okay, everybody, listen up. Right after this poor schmuck, just walked out of the room, So he obviously did something wrong. But I remember one time they were like, I went up to Vancouver, my first time in the room, this lady walks out, she goes, okay, we really need everybody to have an American accent. I swear to God, it took me 6 months to figure out what they were talking about. I guess I'm just like, why do we all speak English? Yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, everybody's saying sorry and about stuff like that. And then from there, yeah, I moved to Vancouver and started booking all that work there, and then booked stuff in the States and Australia, and just ended up all over the place and just kept working. So it was sort of a mistake, and here I am. But same thing as Robert. I believe if I'm going to do this, I'm going to get into the best teachers, got to scale my way into the best, acting schools. Become friends with somebody that's in that class and bypass all the, because every sort of master teacher has like 5 teachers teaching for them. But you got to bypass all those guys and get to the master. And, it's just, you just really deal your way into the best things before you know you're working. Because everybody gets an opportunity, but most kids just aren't ready for the opportunity that they get. That's all I got down to. Next question. Yes, yes, you.